Hi guys, TheBarracuda57. Now before I start, I'm just going to give a quick shout out to two channels which I watch every so often, which are really good, and many INFJs watch these channels as well, and the two people within the channels are considered to be INFJs themselves. That's up for debate. Do you know what I mean? It's up for debate basically, but these two people are considered INFJs, and they're very well known and popular within self-help and motivation, and these people is Elliot Hulse and Teal Swan. Now I'll leave the description below in a comment, just if you don't know the names of them. But yeah, have a look at both of them, see for yourself, and yeah, just watch their videos basically. They're really good, you know, and they will just help you out with extra things in connection to INFJ and extra things into just basically self-help and, you know, awakening yourself basically. It's just good stuff. But yeah, so in this video I'll be talking about awakening yourself, accepting who you are, because a lot of people don't, and basically being happy with yourself, following your own heart, gravitating at your own kind of vibration. And okay, if that's too abstract for logical people watching this, being yourself to the point that you're not a slave to other people and you're not following people around like a dog. Do you know what I mean? And I don't mean that in any disrespect to dogs, but I mean in the sense of following people blindly, like pack mentality, rather than being an individual who thinks for themselves. So you're basically learning to move away from the flock, from the sheep mentality, to just basically being an individual, basically. Not being a loner, to a degree being a loner, but just basically being an individual who's self-sufficient and just happy with who they are, basically. Because if you don't accept who you are, then if you live on an island stranded by yourself, then, do you know what I mean? What are you going to do? What are you going to do if you, do you know what I mean? You're going to have to be with yourself. That's just an example, but anyway. I'll explain a bit more in this video about what I mean and about my experiences. If you connect with them, you connect with them. If you don't, it's something to think about. Do you know what I mean? It's just a bit of insight into kind of what happened with me, and just basically perhaps it's something which other people have told you. It's perhaps something which you're wondering if that's a thing to do to kind of awaken yourself and kind of understand yourself more and be an individual. Yeah, these are just connections, and you know, as long as it helps you in some way, you know, I've done my job, you know what I mean? It's fine. But yeah, so basically when we're young, we learn to kind of be ourselves at a very young age, and then when we go to school we learn to kind of try and mould to be with people. This could go for any type. We basically go from being ourselves, purely ourselves in our youngest sense, and when we go to school we have things happen to us, good and bad experiences, which mould who we are and make us think differently. And you try and mould to people, you try and mould to the society's way of thinking, you learn right and wrong, and all these things mould you into someone who has to change themselves when they're in the public face, and then change again when they're by themselves in the private face. But essentially these shouldn't be separations. You should just be yourself. Just be yourself all day, every day, at home or with friends. Do you know what I mean? We kind of get used to this type of mentality that, oh, I have to be this type of person when I'm outside and when I'm with people and when I'm in public, but when I'm by myself and alone and shut myself away, I can be fully myself. And this comes down to sensitivity. This to a degree comes down to overthinking too much about things, and basically separating everything where everything's connected. Do you know what I mean? We all do it to some degree, so I can't really point fingers at anyone. I can't point fingers at you because I've done this myself, you know? It's just something we unconsciously do, and it's a habit which isn't good. It isn't necessarily good, because you start to become a big brain. You start to become someone who's connected to other people rather than just your own person. You start to become part of a pack which thinks as a unit, rather than an individual who's connected to who's connected to loads of other people within a group. You know, when you're in a group and when you're with people, you shouldn't become a giant brain. You shouldn't lose yourself within the group, but you should be with the group, but as yourself. Do you know what I mean? The problem is a lot of people don't accept themselves, and you can't blame them, because in some cases they've had trauma, they've had really bad upbringings, they haven't had healthy relationships, they have, so you can't blame people. Some people are just sensitive as well, highly sensitive people. Some people think too much, some people can't express themselves, and some people just shut themselves away, it's like, or, other things as well, like depression and personality disorders and loads of things. So you can't blame people for not being able to do it, But basically I can give you an idea of what it's like and how to do it if you want to learn. Do you know what I mean? Because it would really help you, and you shouldn't separate life into two categories. Life is happening all the time. It's happening right now. Even though this video was done in the past, essentially this is the present for me, Life is still happening right now as I'm speaking to you. Anyway, I'm not going to go off on a tangent. So what does it mean to be yourself? It means to not really care what other people think. It means to be open to what they're thinking and how they think, but kind of like, don't let them project on you. A lot of people tell you to, oh, you should be this person, you should be that person, you should wear these clothes, you should listen to these musics, you should listen to this music, And, you might do something which you feel is right and you don't feel is bad, and then people project on you. Now, people who project on you, they do this out of love, and they do this because they care, but just because, do you know what I mean? It's something to think about. And obviously be sensible, do you know what I mean? And obviously think about it in context, if it's right or wrong to do. But often in life, a lot of people will project onto you. Now you have to remember that these are their thoughts coming to you. Someone might tell you that this religion's the best, or that religion's the best, or someone might say, this movie was really good, but this movie was really bad, and a lot of people will say a lot of things, and you think to yourself, oh, maybe that's true, maybe that's real, when essentially you don't know what's real until you've experienced it yourself. So don't let those people project onto you. Someone could say that this food tastes really bad and this food is the best. Wow, that's a great opinion, that's their opinion. That's basically, it's not fact. And again, we have to remember that people sometimes think that people sometimes think their opinions are facts, and they're not, because everyone thinks differently. You've got to remember that, whether you accept it or not, they do. But yeah, people can tell you anything, and if you accept everything that's told to you, you're a sheep, basically. Question things. There's nothing wrong with questioning things. That's what being awake is. Question everything that comes to you, and if you do that, you become more aware. Do you know what I mean? Rather than accept things. I could say to you right now that this is a dog. This is a fluffy dog and it's black. It's dark. It's like, it's not. But it's whether you believe it or not. You can believe that's a dog. You can believe it's a dark coloured dog. But essentially, don't believe what people say to you. Question everything, It's part of what being awake is. It's really simple. But we don't sometimes know this until we've experienced it ourselves. So basically, you can't fully know something until you've experienced it. Now this could be good and this could be bad, because basically you can't learn things unless you try things. And obviously sometimes things could be dangerous or considered dangerous, but you won't know unless you try them. And I'm not saying, just be sensible, I'm not, do you know what I mean? Be sensible. But people will project onto you because they love you, but at the same time, they're projections from them. They're not your energy. So you've got to remember that, Another thing is that you should talk to people a lot, and often, depending on the person, sometimes it's very hard to talk to people. Sometimes you don't know a lot of people, but you have a lot of close friends who are busy, for example. And sometimes you might be a workaholic who shuts himself away and doesn't speak to his friends. And basically, all problems can be done and dealt with by talking, and it's really simple. It's really simple, And there's a thing which I've learned recently, and it's an article, and it's considered one of those universal laws that truth comes from three sources. That's known as the Trinity, if you want to go into a religious side of it, but truth always comes from three sources. If you talk to three different people you know who aren't connected to each other, so an example could be your best friend, your auntie, or someone you know at work. Those three people are not connected to each other in any way. If you ask them a question and you say, "What is this? You know, I don't understand this. How do you feel about this?" You'll get an answer. If two of the three answers are positive, it means that the collective is positive. If all three of them said this is a bad idea, the collective is saying to you it's a bad idea, you know? I'm not going to stereotype, but basically you as an example for a guy, and being a guy, as an example for guys, you get a lot of people who are like, "Oh, look at me, you know, I'm really strong, I'm really amazing, all the girls love me, you know, and everyone wants to be with me, and I'm the best guy in the world." Insecure. Do you know what I mean? Just be happy with yourself. Stop projecting an image of who you are. Do you know what I mean? Just be happy with yourself. It's really simple. And I'm sorry you haven't had enough love and you haven't had enough experiences, and I'm sorry that was really direct. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean it in that way, but I care. That's why I hit people with this, because it makes them think. You know? Just be happy with who you are. If you're a projection of who you are, you will attract people who are not connected to your soul. You'll attract people who are connected to the projection and the image of you, rather than who you are. Do you know what I mean? And an example could be like, you could be one of these typical kind of, like, I don't want to stereotype, but this is what they're known as, the typical douchebag type of guy who goes to clubs, you know, and acts like an idiot and attracts lots of people, and he doesn't really connect with them. Essentially, if you want to be happy, do you know what I mean? Being happy is connecting with someone you really love and you really click with on a deeper level. You might not consciously know that, but that is what everyone wants, really. Deep down, is that true connection, is true love, not sleeping around with people you don't click with, you know? But you can do what you want, it's your life, you know? I'm not telling you what to do. But essentially, if you want to find that person, be yourself. Don't be a projection of who you want to be. Don't be a projection of how you feel you should be acting in society. Be yourself and be confident about it. You know, some people might say you're weird, but everyone is weird to some degree. Be happy, be confident. Be confident in being an individual. And that is so sexy. Do you know what I mean? That is so attractive. It's really attractive. I didn't really realise it until recently. The second I stopped looking, the second I was just myself, the second I stopped trying to control life, and the second I stopped looking and saying, I want to find someone, I want them to be like this, I want them to be like that. Law of attraction, the second I stopped and I was myself, so many people were attracted to me. Because I was my own energy, because I was my own frequency. I wasn't trying to be anyone else but myself. And it wasn't that I was trying to be anyone else but myself. I've always been myself, you know, but I wanted to be more than I was, and I wanted to find, you know, someone I connected with so bad, I slightly projected an image of myself. And the second I stopped, and the second I was just myself, and I, you know, went places and I didn't care and I didn't look, it was attractive. It was attractive. I don't know how. It's just like that. The second you relax, the second you stop trying to force life, the second you stop thinking too much, and the second you slow down and relax, and you live life every day in the present, rather than actively seeking something, you'll attract so much, because you will be yourself, and you will attract the right people, because it's magnetism. You'll attract who, do you know what I mean? You are what you eat. In the same way, you are who you are. So if you project something that isn't you, if you try and be a guy which you feel you're supposed to be, but it isn't you, you're going to attract the wrong types of people, you know? And that's not going to, well, it's whatever you want. If that's what you want, that's what you'll get.